I was excited by the concept of this superpowers, GIS superpowers. And so I put in my superpower when I registered was attention to detail, which I think is incredibly important as a GIS manager, spatial data manager, or a cartographer. But my other superpower is dad jokes. And I saw a cracker on one of your buses running around here today. If you're a local, you've probably seen it, but how does NASA organise a Christmas party? They plan it. But I didn't come to torture you with dad jokes. I came to talk about the journey that we undertook to create a company-wide GIS-based spatial data infrastructure for South 32. I'll tell you about the challenges we faced, the approach we adopted, what we learned along the way, and the benefits that we've realised so far. South 32 is a global, diversified resource company that produces bauxite, alumina, aluminium, energy and metallurgical coal, manganese, nickel, silver, lead and zinc. It was created in May of 2015 out of a demerger from BHP. We have operations in Australia, South Africa and South America, coupled with development options and exploration projects around the globe. The company is headquartered in Perth and is structured to centralise the management of some of the operations functions, including mine and long-term planning, resource and reserve stewardship, exploration management and planning, environment and geology, to name just a few. That means that many staff are required to be mobile in their roles, working across multiple operations and spending significant time physically on site. Of course, for a GIS user, working in multiple sites can be problematic because any change to network drive mappings or server names means broken links in your map document. So what was our goals and vision for GIS within South 32? Well, as with all businesses, a system can only be justified if it reduces risk and eliminates uncertainty, improves business efficiency, or helps staff to do their job better or more easily. And GIS is no different. So our goals had to address these and other outcomes. We knew we could reduce risk in the business by delivering trusted, high-quality information to decision makers. We could improve business efficiency by reducing double handling of information in operational processes. We could support flexible working by enabling staff to work across assets, utilising consistent workflows while accessing a single point of authoritative data. And we also knew we could eliminate uncertainty around data integrity and quality by establishing a foundation data set based on a data governance framework. And finally, we wanted to be able to pull together numerous data formats into one access point for GIS users. With the formation of South 32, essentially a new company, we had the rare opportunity to improve data management, technology and processes by creating a state-of-the-art enterprise GIS from the ground up. Fortunately, our management recognised this opportunity and supported the vision. The first step was to benchmark the current state of GIS within the new organisation. To achieve this, Esri Australia's professional services team were engaged to conduct a strategic analysis of GIS and spatial data at all Australian operations. So a small team of Esri Australia and South 32 people travelled to all operations and interviewed users, managers and the IT section about their experience and expectations for GIS at their operation. They looked at GIS software, usage and availability, data management practices, training and skills, and business processes to gauge the penetration and effectiveness of GIS within the operation. This analysis led to the creation of a strategy document, the South 32 Spatial Strategy, which detailed the current state of play and recommended a blueprint for the future. The strategy document identified that we faced some significant challenges. A lack of consistent governance for any of the components of the existing system. Each asset operating as a distinct business unit with varying levels of GIS maturity and adoption. Very few GIS specialists, most users having only basic or even hand-me-down skills, and masses of data in unstructured filing systems, much of it duplicated. In fact, thousands upon thousands of spatial data sets. In one example, over 6,500 spatial data sets were whittled down to about 100 core layers. If this sounds familiar to you, I'm not surprised. These issues, data duplication, technology mix, and lack of coherent governance, are things that all organisations wrestle with. Many of you will have asked some of these questions of your own organisation. How do you find data in the first place? And when you do, which version is the latest or the correct one? How portable is the data across software platforms? How do you manage poor network performance, especially for remote sites? And importantly, how do you even know what the company's expectations are around management and use of spatial data? These were all questions we wanted to have answers for. The strategy document made it clear what we needed to do to achieve our aims. Standardise all existing GIS data, technology and procedures within the operations to a baseline in order to establish the new 2B environment. Develop an appropriate level of governance that is focused on the establishment and maintenance of a single trusted source of truth, then training the people in the processes to support it, while at the same time making sure that the processes aren't too onerous to uphold. We wanted to develop a community of practice, our local GIS champions, to assist in the delivery of standards and identification of current skills and training needs for the future. And we wanted to have an eye on cross-functional applications. That is, make sure that the system met the needs of IT, engineering, processing, environment and geology, planning and development, marketing, surveying, mining, to name a few. As you can see, there were a few things to consider. It was also very important to bring management in early to provide transparency, sponsorship and awareness of the GIS strategy. This is probably one of the most important parts. So how were we going to achieve these goals, given that for the 3 members of the core GIS team, it was still largely business as usual, supporting the organisation at many levels with day-to-day GIS requirements? It was obvious we needed help. Initially, we were wary of relying on the software vendor, and that vendor being a major player in the GIS world. We wanted to be sure that we would get an objective solution to our challenges and not just the party line. We looked at the available options, but it became clear that Esri Australia's Enterprise Advantage Program, or EAP, was the way to access the resources we needed. The EAP is a well thought out and structured program, and its consultants are experienced in providing assistance to enterprises. So Craig, who'll be presenting with me, was our first trusted advisor, or as I think of him, our EAP buddy. He not only connected us to the right people in Esri Australia, he also kept us on track and moving forward by chairing monthly meetings, taking minutes, and reminding us of our commitments. Having him as a member of our team for 2 years meant that he really did understand the organisation, its requirements, and us, the GIS team, what our strengths and weaknesses were, and therefore where we would need external help. The EAP enabled us to attempt solutions that we otherwise might not have had the expertise or the resources for. Further, being in partnership with Esri gave the business confidence in the project and helped lift the profile of GIS within the organisation. We wanted to be able to market ourselves as being integral to the business, to be seen to add value and to be part of the business process. The EAP has helped us deliver our stated goals. We wanted a central repository, that single point of authoritative data that is the foundation of our system. Secondly, the user experience was a high priority for us. We wanted all users to have the same access experience at each site, so replicating all data to each site means that the user's experience is exactly the same wherever they are. They don't have to orientate themselves to hunt for data, regardless of where they are or where the data was generated. And communication speed to some of our operations is less than optimal, so we wanted to eliminate as far as possible differences in network speed. We wanted a documented governance framework that articulated the structure and components of the system, naming conventions, metadata requirements, and more. And the EAP also helped us bed down a training and support plan and consolidated our software licenses and maintenance. As stated earlier, we had to deliver on the business's main drivers for change. We needed to reduce cost, reduce risk, improve awareness of location intelligence, and improve revenue. We've already realised significant savings by consolidating and standardising technology and software. We're improving efficiency in field data capture by adopting things like Collector and Survey 123 that'll make field data capture quicker, easier and more accurate. And standard access to data across the company will save significant time and effort. We've reduced risk by introducing an authoritative single point of trusted data that will help make business decisions easier, repeatable and consistent. And developing a documented data management standard and practice ensures that the data is managed in a predictable and consistent manner. We've improved awareness of location intelligence. Our web map portal and mobile GIS are raising the profile of spatial data amongst non-traditional GIS audience. And with a consistent approach, it's easier for the company to get its head around a single system. And ultimately, we trust that a well-managed system will lead to improved revenue. With the integration of business information, new opportunities for innovation and potentially new business opportunities will be identified. So with this foundation in place, what can we expect in the future? We are entering year 3 of our EAP, and this is where the rubber will really hit the road. We recently launched our web map portal on the company's intranet, and it's great to be able to say that the data that's in the web maps is exactly the same data that's being used by desktop GIS users. We believe that the sky's the limit. With technology, we have a proof of concept for real-time data feeds, for dust monitoring, groundwater monitoring and water pumps. We have our web GIS application and our field data collection. We have an increased adoption and use of spatial data amongst our people. And we have a skills and training review. Last year we benchmarked people's skills and experience with an online survey, and we'll repeat that annually to quantify improvements. And we're confident that processes built on a stable, predictable platform will deliver synergies that we haven't yet dreamed of. Now that we have our foundation in place, Craig Carpenter has passed us over to Craig McDonald, our next trusted advisor, who is a mining industry subject matter expert. Craig will guide us on the next part of our journey as we seek to extend our systems to incorporate the clever innovations that other organisations, including those like South32, are coming up with. And hopefully we can add to the body of knowledge with some clever innovations of our own. So after 2 years of the EAP, what have we learned? Well, many of our learnings aren't new, but they're worth reiterating. Identify and understand the business needs. It's no use developing a technology solution if it doesn't address business needs. Have a vision, a goal. Develop a strategy and keep it in front of you. But at the same time, be agile enough to meet emerging needs. Communication is the key. Whether it be reports, meetings or a casual conversation, engage with stakeholders from the start and throughout. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed with the detail or you'll spin around and get nowhere. Some things can be dealt with later. Get the majority of your foundation established. But at the same time, don't underestimate how much work is involved. Get help. You probably can't do it on your own. We had to fail to learn. We didn't just jump in. We took a 3-phased approach of test, dev and prod. And when we had failures or shortcomings, we were able to manage them before they went into production. In fact, failure could be a harsh word, as the whole process was very dynamic and we were constantly learning and adapting. So some final points that you can take from today. These solutions are scalable. Large organisations usually have the resources and can carry projects through to completion. But what about smaller organisations? Well, I believe that their problems are similar and therefore they will have similar approaches. But maybe start small, take bite-sized or incremental successes to the stakeholders and create an appetite. Take the business's perspective. How will the business measure success and when will this success be delivered? Our vision has evolved along the way as we understood more about our requirements and what was possible. Through these changes, the EAP has helped us to stay on track and moving forward. And today we can proudly say that through this process, we've developed a best practice, state-of-the-art enterprise GIS.
Thank you, Peter, for that great overview of the past 2 years. I'm going to finish off today's session providing, I guess, my insights of the journey that South32 and Esri Australia have taken over the past 2 years. I'll just reiterate Pete's finishing comments about being proud of the achievements that have been made over the last 2 years. South32, you guys have done wonders over the last 2 years. I work with many clients across many different sectors, and the progress that you guys have achieved over the last 2 years has been really, really good. So as Pete alluded to, I've been working, Esri Australia have been working with South32 over the past 2 years. I've been the trusted advisor, advising and guiding South32 through that transformation over the past 2 years. And I guess from my perspective, there's been 2 main components for the work that we've delivered together. So I'll start off with a quote, which reads, "Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat," from Sun Tzu. It's really, I guess, encapsulating the 2 components that I see of value with the work that we've been doing together. And that is namely having a strategy, having a location strategy in place, or a GIS plan as Pete pronounced it, and then having a plan about how to deliver the recommendations and the outcomes from that strategy. So we're not only providing a long-term vision of where to get to in terms of a future state, but proactively working at delivering that on a quarter-by-quarter basis over a 12-month period. And as Pete sort of encapsulated, the journey has been going now for 2 years and we're in the 3rd year. So I'll start off with a location strategy, and Pete summarised this very well. But it's very much, I guess, a people, processing, technology-driven exercise where Esri Australia worked with South32 to discover the business drivers, the business motivators, which were important to South32. We looked at, whether it was efficiency or reduced costs, safety or revenue growth were the key operators, and tried to uncover any challenges and innovation ideas that the business had for future growth. With those learnings combined with best patterns and practice and learnings from other customers in the sector, we were able to shape together a future state, a 3-year plan of where South32 would like to get to, and it's very much a business-driven exercise. With that vision in mind, we then worked backwards and developed a roadmap to say, South32 are here now, the future state is in 3 years' time. What are the activities that need to be achieved over that 3-year period to move South32 from the initial development coming out of BHP to where they want to be in 1 to 2 years' time from now, pretty much. So that was the first element from my insights as, I guess, one of the key things that the EAP achieved. The next key component is the tactical delivery of those recommendations. So partnering with Esri Australia, South32 have been able to actively deliver against recommendations from a long-term strategy. As Pete alluded to, I've been working with the guys regularly on a monthly basis and even more frequently at certain times throughout that period to really push and support South32 delivering against those outcomes. So it's very much a flexible arrangement to ensure that South32 succeed in that long-term vision. And I guess when South32 succeed, Esri Australia succeed as well. So it's very much a partnership of mutual success. As a trusted advisor, one of the key things that I can provide and assisted South32 with is getting to know the business, getting to know the key priorities, and then aligning support services, training services, professional services from Esri Australia to South32 to achieve activities at the right time with the right personnel. So it's not just us coming in selling stuff, it's about what are the key things that South32 need to achieve and how can we as Esri Australia support that journey, pairing the right people with the right tasks. So, as I've sort of alluded to, one of the key elements of this partnership program is a trusted advisor. A trusted advisor is really there to get to know the business, is to become part of the team, the GIS workforce in South32, to complement the customer's GIS group or the business group, to provide facilitation of technology change, advocacy for location intelligence across the business, and leadership to really support and drive that change to get to that future state. Generally, an EAP is comprised of a work plan of activities. So an EAP is generally broken up into 12-month chunks of work, and at the start of that 12-month period, a work plan gets developed, which articulates all the activities that are going to be delivered over that 12-month period. What's going to be delivered in quarter 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And that's very much guided by that overarching strategy that I started with. So the strategy provides a 3-year plan, and then an EAP can then support that plan in 12-month chunks of work to break that larger initiative or that larger future state into manageable bodies of work that can be delivered over 12-month periods. So it's very much, I like to think of myself as almost an extension of the South32 GIS group. And yeah, it's been great working with you guys over the past 2 years and building those friendships and that trust and really, I guess, helping you guys achieve where you guys are now today. It's been really, from my perspective, it's been a very rewarding process. So moving on. So I'd just like to finish, I guess, with a quote from Benjamin Franklin. And it goes, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And that ultimately is what this comes down to. With today's climate of businesses wanting to achieve improved efficiency, reduce costs, reduce risk and improving revenue, businesses are being required to do more with less, essentially. And having strategic thinking and tactical work plans to deliver against those strategies is really important to achieve those, I guess, those improved revenues, increases of efficiencies and whatnot. I strongly believe that location intelligence and location technology can support these outcomes that businesses are trying to achieve in terms of reducing expenses and improving revenue and growth and whatnot. And I guess today's session has really been to demonstrate how partnering with Esri Australia and the story that Pete sort of provided today can really show those returns in investment and decrease in costs and whatnot to, get us where we're all trying to go as businesses. So hopefully you've gained some value out of Pete's presentation and I guess a bit of my summary. There's a few resources which I'd like to leave you with today. Some of the chairs maybe have got the South32 case study. If not, there is a case study online, and if I've definitely seen it in the Tech Hub. So if you're interested, it's floating around in the Tech Hub area. But the case study is a printed sort of summary of today's presentation, essentially. But it outlines the business outcomes of partnering with Esri Australia. It really talks and emphasises some of those business returns that Pete's provided today to show value in partnering with Esri Australia to achieve success. And there's also some resources on the Esri Australia website. There's a page there for location strategy work that we can support customers with. And there's also some information about the Enterprise Advantage program and that partnering to deliver tactical outcomes. So thank you for coming along today, guys. If you'd like to ask any questions, Pete and I will be available now if you've got any questions. Hopefully you've gained some value and you're enjoying the conference today. So thank you.